became so passionate about this.
Yes, Trevor. Eric does that. Eric does that sometimes. So we started with Eric. I was the first person Eric hosted in his meetings. Yeah. Eric from Israel. I don't know if you know Eric.
Yeah. I don't think he was on the last interview, but yeah, he seems like a very nice guy.
Yeah. So we work with him alongside. So sometimes he does that. Now we have just to start because this is just wonderful. Now this is prepared in dry fasting group. We have been here now 1 year, some months on YouTube, and we have had so many guests. But one of the guests that made the change of the whole thing, the whole story of coming here changed is Trevor, who is here with us today. Trevor, the first interview we did with him, people watched. Actually, we posted it in dry fast group. We posted it in weekly fasting group, and Trevor also has an account in the YouTube. His own account. I don't know how to call that name. Trevor is here. He's going to call you the name something genius.
It's a weird one.
Trevor, how do you call that name? How do you call the name of your YouTube account?
It's called Mediocre Genie. I'm not sure why I came up with that name, but it's kind of, everybody wants to create like a music career, and that would be like my name for my
something unique. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's a weird thing. It has no meaning.
Okay. So, and if you look at the this is a most watched video because it's watched here in some 2,000 plus in this account on the other side.
Yeah.
And so many questions are coming. So Trevor has done, now this is the third time Trevor is accomplishing 20-day dry fast. This is something that we give people warning before we even go far. You cannot just come from nowhere and then straight away go to a 20-day dry fast. It's something that he has done a lot of research, first of all, and also to setting the body and training the body to be able to do this. So that's something that you need. A person who want to practice, you need a good time with information and preparation. Now, Trevor, welcome back again. Thank you so much for honoring our call.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. Yeah, I realized that dry fasting it's an intense thing. It's an intense pursuit. And it's a lot easier for healthy people to do this kind of thing. And sometimes when I go deep, I forget that how much preparation was involved in it. And so to expect other people to just jump in and go 10 to 15 days is asking a lot of them, especially with people that are so toxic out there.
Yeah, that's the reason why we need that preparation, which Trevor is going to give us. Anyway, the preparation, we have two parts here. There's a preparation that Trevor is giving as his journey, where he has been fasting for some time. But now, how did he prepare for this one? That's how we are going to start. But that is not now like what everyone else outside there is going to use for that preparation. This is a person who is very well experienced with what he's doing. Now, if you are to do a beginner, that one Trevor will also deal with. So Trevor, you have two-part question. How did you prepare for this one? And how does a person who is just coming in, who has just known this, wants to prepare, how he's going to prepare? Let's start from that, Trevor.
So a lot of people ask me that, and obviously the answer is very simple, is starting very slow and very small. People start with 16 hours, which usually most people do. But you kind of want to, you kind of want to do, you look at the extremes. Like I'm the extreme version. I'm doing a 20-day dry fast, and I realized the benefits of actually cleaning your colon, eating well beforehand, eating very clean, and then breaking the fast properly, because these things don't really matter for people fasting 3 or 4 days. So they end up not really caring about it. They care more about, like, they don't mean clean their colon. They just enter it in a very toxic, very just they'll eat like meat and dairy and just jump into it and expect all these benefits. But for this particular dry fast, see, I learned, like, even though I coach people on fasting, I learned how to do my fasting more efficiently every single time. So this particular dry fast, I was eating very, very clean, just pretty much raw foods, just fruits and vegetables for the days leading up. So that was beneficial, but it also hurt me because it made me more skinny entering into a long dry fasting pursuit. So I had less acids in my body to detox, and that allowed me more movement. It allowed me kind of more of a pleasant fast because I wasn't holding on to those acids, which kind of causes acidosis, which Dr. Phil and all that talks about a lot. So I think that I entered this dry fast by definitely hydrating off juices, 72 ounces a day for sure, and doing it the days leading up. And then I cleaned my colon with a couple enemas the day before and the day of. And I didn't do a salt flush. I did the ozonated magnesium the day before. And I just made sure I was very, very hydrated and very clean going into it. I'm trying to think of what else I did. I also was just I was kind of having like high potassium foods like coconut products, and I was having like a lot of cucumbers and stuff like that. And I entered in and just coconut water all day long. And then I entered into the dry fast, and I was ready to go. And I felt very confident. It was like a very pleasant fast, and I wasn't hungry or thirsty like the entire time. And yeah, so that's pretty much it. And so for somebody who's kind of trying to get into fasting, I would I wouldn't overlook the it's pretty much, who cares about the word fasting? It's pretty much cleaning out your colon and staying in that state for as long as you can. Um and so you'll feel nausea with fermented foods. Your breath will get really bad because there's kind of like gut rot going on, and then you actually like people will smell it. But then you'll get past that. There's a certain point in the fast when you get past that, when your breath doesn't smell anymore, your armpits don't smell anymore because your body has gotten through it. But you don't want to start at a deficit, and a deficit being dehydrated states and a colon that's filled with matter, with food that hasn't been cleaned out yet. Hopefully that answers the question.
Great. And because I follow you sometime, not fully, sometimes I'm there, sometimes I'm out. I realized that you did this fasting in 2 different places, or were they 3?
Yeah.
You were at home and then you went to some place, yeah?
Yeah. Yeah. I went to so like whenever I start a fast, this is kind of important. Like you have to journal things that helped you during the fast, and how you want to go about the next fast. Because when you start a fast, you forget about all these things, and then you don't kind of make them a priority. And that priority being near like a very clean air environment that has a little bit of humidity to it. So you're kind of breathing in the hydration. So during the fast, like maybe I can just sneak it off. So a lot of people you talk to probably are like, I can just go to a hotel and just do 12 days, knock out 12. No, you can't. Like, just a hotel is the worst environment to be in unless you are right on the ocean, unless you're right on the lake, because you're closing yourself into a room. And so you're essentially re-breathing in the toxicity that you're exhaling, all the toxic matter. It's just like you're containing yourself. You want to be in nature. So my point is that I reminded myself that I need to be in nature. And so I found a place on the beach, like with the sunrise coming up, and the temperature was perfect. It's wintertime. And then I put myself there. So I went to like a beach location that was really cheap. And I did that around day 11. So that was kind of a pain driving there, but I got there, got it done, and continued the rest of the fast. Unfortunately, I only went 19 and a half days, but I was trying to go 25, but I guess we'll get to that.
Yeah. How do you find the 11-day, the first half, and the last, after changing the location? How did you find it? Because I know, and it's not really easy to compare anyway, because at the time we were getting out from 1 to 11, you're like in a steep hill going up like that, but then reaching 11, it's like you've gotten some kind of a plateau kind of a thing that now you are flowing. So, but you can still tell us the experience. You're the one who has experienced it anyway. But
Oh my gosh, once you get to the double digits, you're like, oh, thank God I got here. Every single time I'm like, that was a drudge. It's just time moves so slowly, and your body doesn't want to get to the cleansing state, which is day 4. And it's kind of like not fun for the first 4 days. And then there's nothing you can do to speed up time. We all have to go through that. A minute is a minute. So you can't rush it. And then eventually you finally get through, like, yes, I'm finally to like the healing part. I'm finally to like the spiritual part that I was looking for. Because, and I have to remind myself to enjoy every single day. Day one is fun. Day two is fun. Like, just let's kind of be present and kind of and be very present with my body and mind, and kind of observe what's going on. So yeah, the first 11 days are kind of like waking your body up to this new flow, this new cleansing state, this new fasted state. And then you, from day 11, it's like, okay, now we're truly in like this, what, because just like Sat Marga said, like, it's all about your mind. Are you in this fast to survive and not die, or are you in this fast to enjoy it and administer healing? Like, I choose. And that's something that really gets me far, is that mentality of I'm a man who chooses not to eat. This is my choice to do this. It's not because I'm forced to. So, and therein lies me being able to have the mentality to pursue to another day, because I don't want food, you know. It's not like I'm waiting to break the fast and be like, yes, give me as much food as you possibly can. Like, I'm not living for food. I'm living for the spiritual awakening, the spiritual evolution that I'm going to experience. And that entails after day 11. But the spiritual awakening
Great.
happens
And
actually
you have,
after like day 14. Yeah.
and what exactly is this a spiritual awakening? You really want to hear that?
Oh, we're already jumping
What
into
was the
it.
experience?
Yeah, it's this is kind of a unique thing to each person, it doesn't really matter if people believe my spiritual journey. This is just for me to kind of take in and process. But each of these 20-day fasts has been very monumental for me in my spiritual awakening. And this one in particular, I was I realized that I'm all into like observing my thoughts. So the thought thing is very interesting, because then you're having like all sorts of different um kind of influences in your spiritual space. So like, you'll hear and be influenced by like angels, you'll be influenced by demons, and some people will kind of experience this on earlier days, but I authentically experience it beyond like day 15, I'd say. And then I guess to sum it up, I pretty much will, like, there's a whole thing where like there's like tricksters out there. So like, uh, the thing about this fast is like, I didn't know that there was like spiritual tricksters that will kind of like try to contort the message, contort your thoughts, and make you think certain things. Um, and then this one I was really ready for it, and they had less of a kind of a grasp on me, and so I was able to navigate that a little more so, and um, kind of be in my right mind. So I guess what I'm trying to say is like, I'll be like, you become thoughts, instead of like a physical body. Like, your thoughts become more of like it's like you're like in an ocean of thoughts that can be influenced and and kind of taken down a different trajectory. So you have to kind of be in a rule set, like, and that's what I find myself doing. I write down things that I know to be true, and that's what I find is very helpful for me. Like, I am a person with 6 kids in my family. I am a person that's trying to get to day 21 at least. I'm a person that has love in my heart, like things that I know to be true, and therefore like I can't be kind of tricked into different identities for myself, I guess you'd say. That might sound kind of convoluted, but I'm not sure if that resonates with anybody. But yeah, that was my experience.
Yeah, these thoughts that are tricks, kind of tricksters or things, are they ones that are like taking you out from the fast, trying to tell you, okay, yeah, there's no need of this thing, why are you killing yourself, or things like that? Or what kind of thoughts are these that are like this negative, or can I call them negative?
Yeah, yeah,
Mm.
it's a strange thing, and then I kind of related to, Jesus was tempted by the devil when I think when he was on his way back from the fast. And I'm not surprised by that, because, and this is kind of like how I frame it, and this could be completely wrong, but he hiked pretty far. He got himself into a predicament. It's a 40-day dry fast, which is absurd. I break on day 20, and I think I'm mentally strong. He did a 40-day dry fast. It's insane. and then walking back to town to rehydrate and kind of get back into his life, he probably doesn't want to do that. He probably doesn't want to hike all the way back down. That's really hard to do. And so I think he got to a point where he was being tricked into thinking like, hey, you can be the ruler of nations, where you can jump off this cliff and fly, fly back to town. You don't have to walk, you know. And so I think that was a trickster moment, just like this whole. I hate to put so much emphasis on the trickster thing, but I think it's good to know how your mind can be distorted.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's the enemy. It's the enemy. You see,
Yeah.
we don't wait to see a devil with the horns.
Yeah.
You don't always see a devil with the horns like that. You're going to have those negative thoughts. The way of saying like an ocean. So it's kind of a portal is created, and now it's upon you with their power to decide this one I'll accept, this one no. So that is exactly what is going on with the temptation. This is exactly what is going on. When you have the flow that you talk about the positive things, the part that goes with love, joy, peace, care for others, kindness, that you have the portal from heaven, the clean flow. Yeah, you can call it the clean flow. But then the other one also wants it wants to win you. The other one also wants to win you. I get you. I get you very well.
Dude, they're very manipulative and very cunning with it. They can just wean you a little bit off of the road, and it's like you can get very divine intervention revelations that come in. You're like, oh my gosh, I'm downloading this and writing this down now. But then you can also get these thoughts that are like, it's just like all these energies are trying out different thoughts, and you can kind of think that they're your own, which makes you think like, am I my like? It's like what happened before is it was the egg or the chicken that came first, and I think that the thought came before the thinker. I think that the human came after the thought. And what I mean by that is that I think that our whole existence was manifested from a single thought, and now we're living within a thought, and therefore there's all these thinkers. I know that sounds very far-fetched, but that's kind of like my experience in this fast in particular, which was I'm kind of in an ocean of thoughts. Yeah, I don't know. That seems to be a theme for this interview so far.
There's more to this. Somebody is saying, this is my call in the YouTube, saying this is why it is extremely important to study the occult. Most people are not aware of these things. And actually, before even we had this conversation today, as I was preparing to come for it, this is what I was thinking. There are people who fast to get power of darkness. We have stories of people in occult, those people are even buried. Somebody can be buried on the grave where somebody has been buried. There are stories like that. The person stays there 7 days, no food, no nothing, no light, no nothing. So we are not in this direction. I know some people sometimes wonder, oh, why these people talk about fast here? Our fasting is for your health. Our fasting is for your spiritual, pure spirit. That's why we're here. Exactly. So we are not here for, we're not here to mix you up and you find yourself here to train you and get yourself outside. And that's why it's important when we're discussing, like Trevor was saying, he doesn't want to go that direction. But for me, I'm feeling that is very key to give people direction. The good thing is that when you are fasting, you are exposing, you have opened a portal for spiritual world. And
you definitely are.
Yeah, it is exactly in the thoughts. It's nothing far from thoughts. That is the exact place where there's the battlefield. That is the exact place where heaven comes, hell comes.
Yeah.
So exactly. So it's more of you being in control from the beginning of the reason why you get into the fast. Our intentions to the fast are very important. And every person who has done a long fast, when I have visitors here, they tell me every now and then about positive thinking. Positive thinking. Yeah, it is very key in winning in winning this battle that we are talking about, because it's more spiritual than physical. Yes, when we are subjecting the flesh without eating, we now open totally to the spiritual, and the real thing is spiritual. I also wanted to ask you something that I thought is going to for the future. If you look at the future, for those people are getting to the fast now, if we don't have a spiritual reason, a good and a health reason, there'll be no reason for fasting for these people. They'll get off the mark. They'll actually, what do I mean? They'll fall off the wagon. They will not continue. They will not continue the journey. So we must have a purpose greater than just the physical part of the fasting. Because sometimes we're wondering, why should I be living without eating, and people are enjoying chicken outside here? People are enjoying what food outside there. Why would I be without food all this time, all this long? So when you do it once, and maybe even for health, if somebody does it once and you get to health well, you may not come back. You know, that thing's so very difficult. So what are your thoughts? What do you think about this future, especially for those who have discovered the fast? How do we remain with this lifestyle for maybe the rest of our life? Because this, for me, this is gold. This is the best thing I ever discovered.
You figured it out, and I think that you have a fire underneath you because you see how much potential it is here to. And what we're really doing here is just spreading the good news and bringing the message to people so they can find their way back to, you know, what they consider God to be from within them. So I think that so for me, so I guess what is the question? What is the question you wanted to answer? I guess if you want to.
Just for what we call posterity for a long time. What do we tell people so that they remain in the path rather than coming and going off? Because again, fasting, where people start and then they stop the fasting lifestyle, it becomes it does not benefit. It remains just. I did fasting. Somebody will be saying, I did fasting 10 years ago. The 10 years ago fast won't help you today.
Exactly. I think that it's for me, it's a remembering, you know. So I was fasting for physical reasons. I wanted to force my way into healing my body. So, and what I ended up finding is that and it transitions. Now I do it for spiritual awakening, because what I'm doing is it's such an anti-inflammatory effect on the body that I have complete access to my soul at that point. So it's remembering who I truly was. You're going back to your true self. And so I think that your purpose can change, and then it can be like, some people are afraid of change, but if you change, it's because it's for the best, because you chose to do that. So fasting will do that, and it'll remind you how much access you had to joy and love that you forgot. And that's why I think that some of these tricksters, spiritual tricksters, are kind of one and the same thing as physical parasites. You know, it's as above, so below. And they can have such an influence in your mind that you think that it's you that's thinking these things, that you think that it's you that's just kind of like normalizing these thoughts and these feelings. But in reality, your nervous system is hijacked by a physical microorganism or a parasite, and you finally release that. And what your body does is celebrate in euphoria for finally assisting that process of detoxification and having access to your spiritual state, which is the intention of this existence in the first place. So I think that this whole like existence on this planet is a balancing. So figuring out the most detoxification thing you can do is dry fasting. So you can start off with clean eating, then juice fasting, then water fasting, then dry fasting. And obviously dry fasting is for more elite people, especially those going to do long fasts. So when you are to break your fast, you know, even Jesus Christ was eating food. So how do you eat food wisely? You know, it's by not making your physical self too dense to kind of get out of these spiritual states. You're still light. You're not overburdening the body. You're not allowing your vessel to be more of a parasitic host. You're not, and this is why kind of, you know, sex before marriage is not really a good thing, because you're exchanging liquids with another person, microorganisms with another person. And now you've taken on that bacteria, fungus, parasites that person might have, and downloading that into your DNA, essentially. And so it's not really a good thing. That abstaining from sex before marriage, I think it has value in that regard. And I don't even share drinks with a single person. And even last night, my brother was like, "Hey, can I take a sip of that?" I'm like, I don't share drinks. Like, it's just a rule I have. Like, I'm not trying to share microorganisms with anybody. Like, I just finished a 20-day drought fast. I'm enjoying my own DNA, my own bacterial makeup, you know. The next step I could do is grow my own food. But yeah, I guess that sums up that question.
Yeah, that's a question. Somebody, Colleen Karale, she's here. She has said so many things around here, about 3-4 things. Let me read for you. So many people want to be like you. And she's also saying, Buddha expunged his mental demons after he dry fasted and meditated long. So meditation is also part and parcel of overcoming those tricksters. And my worst trickster is my own mind entity. That's what she's saying. We have anybody else? I think there's David. Yeah.
Sorry, I
David,
won't interject.
Just go on, just on before I read for David. Yeah.
No, I wasn't commenting. I was just kind of just letting out confirmations of what you're saying.
This guy is fast now. He's saying David Stadium Heights, rock on, bro. Well done. I'm on day 9 plus 16 hours, going for 11 days. Keep it up, David. Yeah. And there's a comment in the chat here. What is this saying? Very nice journaling. Okay. This is Sam. Journaling what we know to be true. Excellent. Thank you. I was reacting on what you said that when you were in about, I think from the 14th day, you are writing some things down.
Yeah, that comes into play. That comes into play when you actually get beyond day 17 for me. Because because I have a goal in mind. I have a goal that I want to do 25 days, right? But then you start getting to these spiritual states. You're entering a whole different game at that point, where it's now you're in like the ocean of abyss of thoughts and like spiritual downloads. And I'm constantly feeling like I'm never alone. Like I feel like I have so many angels around me just kind of with me, and I'm super surprised that there is nobody there physically. Sometimes I'm just like, wow, there's no one here. Like I feel the energy so much that I'm like, and it feels like 12 beings are with me at all times. I feel like the number 12 pops up in my head where I'm like, I'm so surprised that they're not with me when I wake up, or like and even for like 5 to 7 days after the fast, I still feel those presences until finally I get denser with food intake. And so another point is like when I get to like day 17 to 18, I have to actually remind myself what day I'm on, because I'll really forget what day it is. I'll be like, oh, this is day 17 to 18. Okay, I have a goal in mind, another 24 hours, 21 days, keep moving, keep breathing, keep doing meditation and yoga practices. And so yeah, so eventually I just got too skinny, where it was just, I didn't feel comfortable going any farther, because I got too skinny, and I didn't like that. So I guess the rule of thumb, the thing that I learned from this fast physically, was to be fatter before I start. I was like a little too lean, and I need that weight to lose, because with Sat Marga, he loses less weight during his fast than I do. He's acclimated his body to dry fasting, because he's always doing this. The thing is, I like food intake, so therefore when I don't have it, my body loses weight a lot faster, I think. So I need more of it if I'm going to sustain longer periods of time in these dry fasts. And so I need to put on like 10 more pounds and I'll reach my goal at that point, but it might be towards the middle of next year, maybe end of next year. So.
And how about your activities? You literally, the way I've known you for some time, when you are on a fast, you don't do a lot of physical activities. So you take a lot of rest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's something. It's anybody who's dry fasting right now, especially the guy in the chat that's doing day 9, he can probably attest to the fact that it's hard to kind of get up and start moving. I still do it. Sometimes I feel like my higher self's like, get up and go walk like 200 feet, or go to the mailbox, or I still am active. Like on day 11, I'm driving to this other location. I'm still carrying things, but like after day 13, I really tone it down, and now I'm just doing like jumping jacks here and there and stretching. But I'm trying to conserve my energy, because I'm gonna lose too much weight, and plus like I'm kind of trying not to be, my body is healing itself to such a capacity that I kind of want to give it, give it that energy, so I see exercise more of like assisting those blockages, the dissolving of blockages, rather than like enhancing blood flow, which it also does. Because a lot of times, not to digress, but dry fasting does one thing that's a blessing and a curse. It can thicken the blood. So it allows your blood to be cleaned a lot easier. So a lot of people with blood clot issues can experience problems with that. I haven't heard of anybody so far, but I suspect that will come up. So you kind of want to help the blood kind of circulate more efficiently. And that's why I kind of recommend potassium intake before fasts, and also like a little bit of movement during the fast to kind of help that out. Because when the blood stops moving, that's not a good thing.
Actually, that was a question, what potassium intake supplement. Where do you get it from? That's exactly, even in the last video, somebody was asking that question.
What is the question?
Potassium supplements.
Oh,
where do you get it from?
I like to eat the potassium foods, and I put it on my profile. What I have, it's pretty much like greens, like dark green plants. But I mostly just have like coconut products and stuff like that. There's some fruits that are high in potassium, but it's kind of when you fast more, your blood will get cleaner. And this is a problem I find with most people, and they kind of overlook this a lot, is that you can have such toxic blood that your blood is thick because of it, and that person is more inclined to have blood clots. But the cleaner your blood is, the more movement, the more circulation that person can have, and won't experience any health issues necessarily. And you'll know this because when you start a dry fast, you're already experiencing like bruising or something, or like a lack in circulation, or like you're having a lot of difficulty. That's a person with toxic blood, in my opinion. And with dry fasting, you can clean the blood completely. And that's kind of one of the benefits that I love the most. I had a fungal issue in my blood that was kind of popping up like warts on my face, like rashes, more so than warts. And it was blatantly obvious. I'm like, I just did, a long dry fast and it never came back. And I'm like, my blood is getting clean for sure. And that's when I started realizing, okay, what can't dry fasting heal? And I have a hard time finding things that dry fasting can't heal. I think that it's like the ultimate golden egg of this existence. It's always available to everybody. Just don't do anything at all. Just let the body heal. But you have to have a strong mind to do so.
Great. This is just a general, again, from the last meeting, when to do the salt flush or when to do the flushes.
Yeah, so I do the salt flush every now and then, but the thing is, it's a catch-22. You can get very dehydrated from intaking salt, and that's why you don't start a fast right after the salt intake. So the benefit of a salt flush, in my opinion, to break this down, is that you're actually cleansing out the small and the large intestine, when in reality with the enema, you're only cleaning out one of them, only the bottom half. With the salt flushes, you want to do them a day before the fast. You don't want to do them the day of the fast, because now you're starting at a deficit. You want to give your body the best possibility to reach the length of time you want to go. And you do not want to dehydrate your body that capacity. And plus, your body will have to work on, your body very much prioritizes ridding itself of salts. And the salt flush obviously is a huge intake. And it's not like it rejects all that salt right away. You need to give it like at least 24 hours. And sometimes I'm kind of back and forth. Sometimes I like salt flushing, and sometimes I really don't want to recommend it. It's for the crazy people that want to dry fast longer than 15 days, longer than 20 days. Like, those are the people that really understand, I want my colon completely clean, and salt flush is imperative to do so. And I might do it for my next fast, but right now I'm content with my protocol, which is just clean eating, enemas, ozonated magnesium the day before. And that's my thought on that. What's up, Tuche?
Now, yeah, I have to just be with you in this Zoom. How do you call it now? The last meeting. So I'll be reading from you for you. Yes, Amish?
Context of this.
You want to ask a question?
Say, but really hearing, what you're talking about.
Shireen, do you want to ask a question? Now, allow me to read these questions for you, because these are things that you may forget to handle if we don't talk about them today. Breathing in from the nose, breathing out from the nose. You said something about this during the whole fasting. How often? And how should it be done the right way? That is a question from the last meeting we had with you.
Yeah.
Mm.
I think that so I used to tape my mouth shut when I go to sleep. I read this book called I think the book is called Breath by James Nestor. I definitely recommend, it's a good read. You know, I don't usually recommend books, but that's a beneficial one to read, is James Nestor's book on breathing. And it really shows you all the benefits of breathing through the nose. And this becomes very much vital during a long dry fast, because you're oxygenating the brain, you know, too. You're getting, so since your circulation is compromised, a lot of blood flow can't really get to the brain, distributing oxygen to the brain, right? So therefore, you're assisting that process with proper breath through the nose, but also you're filtering the air, and because your nose hairs and a whole bunch of mechanisms going on in your body. You're regulating your breathing with even breaths that your mouth breathing can achieve. So by by me taping my mouth shut for like, you know, 4 or 5 months, now I really don't ever breathe through my mouth ever. Even when I exercise, I breathe through my nose as much as I can. I'll run very long periods of time and breathe through my nose. And it's just kind of like a retraining in the body. Um, so a complication you can face in a longer dry fast is you start feeling like heart palpitations. And you can, what I kind of like to do during those times is I'll kind of like do like 10 push-ups, kind of get the blood flow going. And then I'll kind of sit on my back a little propped up. So posture is a huge thing with these longer dry fasts, because you want even blood distribution. And so you want to have your heart be above whatever extremity you want blood flow in. So say you have like your arm slightly above your heart, gravity will kind of inhibit your arm from getting as much blood flow there. You know, this is my experience. So you kind of want to keep your heart above like the rest of your body, so everything is getting proper circulation, proper oxygen. And by breathing through your nose, you can kind of calm your heart, but you can also distribute oxygen to your body more effectively. Because you have to understand, like, since you're not urinating that much, your breath is a pathway of detoxification and blood filtration, you know. So if your body's prioritizing blood cleansing, the breath is very important to do that. And if your heart gets elevated, say it gets to 120 beats per minute, that means that your blood is probably very thick. And if you can't get that back down through longer exhales through the nose, like you can kind of hold your breath for like 2 or 3 seconds and do the same thing. So when you exhale, it's kind of a relaxation state your body gets into, and your heart is actually trained to slow down. And then if your heart rate doesn't slow down, then it's time to break the fast. Your blood is too thick. So that's kind of like my methodology to breathing. But you kind of essentially just want to breathe normally. And if it's just listening to your heart. You want to change it up if your heart starts kind of having palpitations, and just like administer, you know, longer inhales and longer exhales. So hopefully that wasn't too much information.
Yeah, and for me, I have a question, Trevor. When you are on a fast, especially the very long fast, do you still do the taping? Have you ever done that? You tape your mouth like that? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I used to tape my mouth, but then I feel like it's kind of a little bit more ridiculous. It's kind of weird. Like, it's such an important thing. Sometimes I'll wake up on, I used to kind of feel dehydrated on day 8. And then I'll be like, oh my gosh, I'm dry fasting. What am I doing? This is crazy. Like, I feel just like, am I gonna die? What's going on? Like, and you'll feel panicky because, and that's a lot of time why people break, is because they feel so dehydrated because they're breathing through the mouth. That shows you how dehydrating breathing through the mouth is. So it's very hydrating breathing through the nose. And so taping the mouth becomes a priority there. That's if you experience that on your dry fast, I would tape my mouth shut. But the thing is, my mouth is trained to stay shut now. And a lot of times people are so inflamed and so mucus filled that they can't even breathe through their nose ever. Like, even when they're living their life, you know, they just, and so it's kind of sad because these microorganisms are like, sweet, perfect. We're dehydrating this body. We're kind of disabling this person to a point where they can't even nose breathe. They can't even bring oxygen to their brain cavity. So when you get to like day 4, day 5, you start to realize the mucus starts dissolving. Now you have access to your nose again, and then retraining your body with nose breathing by taping your mouth possibly becomes a better thing to do. So yeah, it's whether that person has access to their nose at all, which, believe it or not, a lot of people don't have.
And there's something else I wanted to say, because some of us do the fasting and prayer. So you find them doing a prayer where you talk verbally sometimes. But for me, I think the advice I can give, when you're on a fast, you're already humbled, and God hears your prayer from your heart. It's not a must to make loud noise. Yeah. It's not a must to make loud noise. You can make some few statements and you relax. Some few statements and relax. You maintain silence, because you lose a lot of water through your mouth. So just take it that your faith that has made you get into the fast will lay what God wants from you, will reach your, it's called a supplication reach when your heart is in good position with God. Now, at a time, I'm now with you in this room now. You have come, you have booked yourself. I've come to this hotel. Do these people worry about you are not eating? Because sometimes some hotels, people are like, when you come, there's also the food. They say what? Bed and breakfast. How do you deal with this?
How do I resist the food urges? Is what you're asking?
No. You are booking. And these people expect that you are coming in and you're also going to eat most of the time, because they are used to people in business. They want money for food. There's no consumption for you. You just want the room alone.
Yeah, that's a difficult thing. So I kind of scan the internet for places that are like that don't, you don't have to meet the host. It's just pretty much you can check in yourself, and it's just a keypad and stuff like that. So now I can hobble my skeleton booty to this room and I don't have to meet anybody. Just get myself there, and now I'm flowing. But there is a time when I was in Guatemala that they provide you like big jugs of water. And I asked them before I got there, is like, do I have privacy? Do I have privacy? Do I have privacy? I'm writing a book. Let me have privacy. You're like, yeah, you got privacy. But before I knew it, like they had like groundskeepers and housekeepers coming in, and they're like, hey, this guy's skinny and like none of the water's been drank. And then they tell the host, I'm like, oh, God, this is a nightmare. Like now I got to deal with like this whole situation when I'm just trying to do a hard dry fast, right? So it's kind of like, hey, if you're rich enough and you have a house on the beach, like good for you. You already have the proper setting for a dry fast, but I don't. So therefore I have to manufacture that. And guaranteeing privacy based on self check-ins is one of those things. But yeah, but before, like, I wanted to comment on something that you said, fasting and prayer, and this is just brief, but like a lot of times, like this is what people would do, like scripturally, since the beginning of time. They would fast and pray when you have a decision to make. That's why you sleep on it. It's a decision. You sleep on it because your brain is less inflamed, so therefore you have more access to your brain and your soul to make a better decision than you did the night before. So a lot of times that's why journaling is really good during a dry fast, because you're getting all these revelations so you can make proper decisions on your life. Should I be with this person? Should I move? It's big decisions to make. Now you're having more access. Your IQ's higher to act kind of more accordingly to your life. So I think it's important to act upon these things that you journal, these revelations you might have when you break the fast, because that was your authentic self speaking to you. That's all I want to say.
Yeah, in decision making and in creativity, innovation, this is the best time, because the brain is very clean, no fogs. And by the way, at what point did you feel this on this fast, that you had very clear mind now? Because there's a point where you struggle. There's a point where the body struggles. I've had this sometimes back. Day 3, day 4, that point is not a very good time. I don't know what your experience with that.
Yeah, I honestly, like, so I figured out like a little bit of balance in my life. I have like a more of a fruit-based diet that's kind of clean. I have just raw food, raw vegan intake. So I'm constantly able to make good decisions. I'm very anti-inflamed body, but it's usually day 5 on a dry fast is when I actually noticeably experience that my decision-making skills are enhanced.
and also meditation. Prayer can also be meditation. So that when somebody has a thought that you consistently think about, that's a prayer. Yeah, we're going to call it, the other name is called meditation, yes, but it's a prayer. So we need people to know that with the dry fast, there's very little struggle because you have put the body totally into submission to what now the will of God wants from you. There's somebody saying, I think we need to involve people
Do you ever
here.
notice? Do you ever notice that you can't pray or meditate if you want something? So during a dry fast, it's a weird thing. You can be trying to go 7 days, and you won't be able to pray or meditate because you want to break that fast so badly. You're wanting something at such an extreme. You're lusting after that break. I want that coconut water. I want that watermelon. So therefore, you're like, oh, get the time done. Get the time done. You're not going to pray or meditate. So there's a transition that happens. Like I'm accepting this state, and therefore I'm in a receiving mode because I'm meditating and praying. I'm making a gratitude posture, and so therefore you can. It's a hard transition to make. It's easier said than done to meditate during a fast, because then you have to really disregard your wants for food completely, which a lot of people have a hard time doing.
Wow. Because the struggle is, and have you had even this one? There's sometimes that you find yourself dreaming, taking water. Did you have anything like that? Any experience like that?
Where I find myself drinking water?
You dream, you just see, when you have some little sleep, you find yourself dreaming like, oh, I'm taking water. You're taking water. Very often, like, it always happens with me.
It's like every single night I have that. And I actually convinced myself, like, oh my God, I just broke my fast. I'm like, wait, no, I didn't. Oh, thank God I didn't break my fast. That was just a dream. But yeah, I'll sleep like a few times a day for like 30 minutes. And sometimes all those dreams have to do with me hydrating my fast and thinking I broke it.
And Trevor, let me tell you genuinely, sometimes that's when, the way you have said, oh, when I wake up, then I realize, okay, I've not broken my fast. But for me, sometimes I realize that this is where I become weak mentally. So I'm like, if I should just take this water. I should, and when I take the water, I've broken the fast.
Oh,
so
man.
Exactly.
It gets you at a weak moment for sure. Yes.
So it means we need to get, like for me now, like that's my experience that I've had, because sometimes I get a stronger will, I fast away. I feel I want to reach, if I want to reach my 7 days, I'll just reach it without a problem. But sometimes I break the fast before reaching the target because of this water dreaming, taking water, and then I'm like, okay, let me just do it. Let me just take the water. Yeah.
Exactly.
At that point, it's not about food. It's not about what I'm missing, which meals. No, just water. Water becomes exactly. So for you, you said, how do you always overcome this? For me, most of the time I've broken my fast after dreaming. How do you always overcome this? Yeah.
That's how I broke my fast in Guatemala. Actually, it was a combination of me being tricked and me just like the whole trickster thing, and then me having a dream that I broke it, and I reached over for my water, and I was like, I started drinking, and I was like, oh crap, I just broke the fast. And it's crazy because we consider drinking water breaking a fast. That's how hardcore dry fasting is. Like like drinking water is still water fasting, and that's still hardcore, but like it's done for me. Like I'm broke the fast, and now we're off. Now we're drinking now. External hydration is now a thing.
And this must be something in our subconscious. The information, this is coming from our subconscious mind. Where can we say these things coming from? The body's intelligence is like, okay, we need to. There's an emergency here, and the only thing that can help us at this point, the body is now talking. We need water, and now it's like triggers the brain to create that dream or kind of a thing. Exactly. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it, but that's how I think.
It's fasting. If it's anything, it's re-engaging the relationship between the mind and the body, and the body at that point is communicating to the mind that it wants something at such a strong capacity. It's like hydration. We're dreaming about it now. We want hydration. Like it's time to break the fast. But the body is still a servant to the mind, because the mind's in charge. That's the captain of the ship. And so that relationship is important because you can detox the body if the mind knows enough information to do so. So there can be parasites, microorganisms, but the mind needs to understand this in order to engage in a detoxification, that now the body is a servant to get that done. So it's kind of a relationship.
Somebody is saying, this is Kalale again, all non-corporeal beings are projections of the mind, seeming real on one level, and vanishment of the achievable mind resolves all that. Let me read the last part again, or let me just read it off, let me flow. All non-corporeal beings are corporeal. This is C-O-R-P-O, real. Beings are projections of the mind, seeming real on one level, and vanishing or vanishment of the achievable mind resolves all that. That is a Karale. But somebody has asked a question here in the chat. This is a little private. For someone who is obese and unhealthy and has health issues, is it safe for this person to dry fast, and for how long?
Yeah, I think that question requires more information, needs more specifications to it. They can have any disease, any sickness. For me, I think that the common answer is to start small, start with juice fasting and water fasting, and get your body detoxed enough to dry fast. Dry fasting is obviously the fastest way to get it done. It's the way that I would choose to get it done, and it's the way that I did choose to actually eradicate my sicknesses. So the thing that needs to be understood, and this is not medical advice, nothing that me and Frederick say is medical advice, but it's the long fasts that really get it done. Jesus wasn't breaking the fast on the 40-day dry fast. It's not like every 5 days he had a little bit of food. There's something to the continuance of these fasts, because you're exploiting the autophagy, you're exploiting the detoxification principle that's happening through longer fasts. So that's what really gets it done. It's kind of like you see, for instance, a lot of people have been coming to me for lymphoma lately, and that's a general umbrella term that all your lymph nodes get kind of inflamed in the body, and doctors will try to surgically take out a lymph node, and because that shows you how far back the medical industry is. They're trying to surgically take out a lymph node, but in reality, you just dry fast 8 days, you'll start to see that lymph node that seemed like concrete starts to dissolve, and by day 12, day 13, it's completely gone. And now, would you still get surgery on that lymph node that's now dissolved? All it took was 13 days. So it's a lot of times there's parasites and microorganisms in our body, usually in the headspace. They prefer the headspace for some reason, and they can inflame all your lymph nodes. So they'll eat inside you at such a fast rate that all your lymph nodes will start to get inflamed, especially a person that has a dense diet that doesn't know how to cleanse their lymphatic system. Those are people that experience cancer and tumors and stuff like that. There's no flow to their body, no circulation. So understanding two things. One is get on less dense foods and understand how to cleanse your lymphatic system. And then you'll find that your lymph nodes start to dissipate. And there's no greater way to do that than dry fasting. It's the most anti-inflammatory thing you can do. As a matter of fact, there's so little liquid in my joints after I dry fast. Even Sat Marga will say that your joints get crunchy because you're kind of having bone on bone contact. So the most anti-arthritis thing you can do is dry fasting. You're sucking all the liquid from your body, essentially drinking yourself. So a lot of times people can say why dry fast over water fasting? It's too difficult. I feel too dehydrated. I'm not going to dry fast. Yeah, because you're drinking yourself, and you're kind of putting up with that subtle suffering in order to achieve a medical completion, where you're done with that disease or sickness. But a lot of times these microorganisms want water, and especially if you're exhibiting it externally, then you're allowing that microorganism to live longer. And rather than taking your own liquid, taking control of it again, you're utilizing it. All that arthritis, microorganisms in your joints and in your brain cavity, you're taking it. Because that mucus is hijacked, and a lot of times it'll be complacent because the microorganism doesn't want to move. It wants to stay in your brain cavity, but your body's like, no, we want that moisture so badly. Suck it out of the brain cavity, and eventually we utilize it. And now that's what gives you access to that brain that was kind of calcifying your pineal gland, or spiritually your third eye, in my opinion.
Right. I wanted also to ask about, just before I ask, there's a question here that we need to finish with just the same person. He's worried that the toxins won't be able to get out. Could he get clogged up? I think he's asking for another person. Yeah.
Okay.
The same person who asked about obese and healthy issues. Can that person do a long dry fast? He's the one who's saying he's worried that the toxin won't be able to get out. Could he get clogged up? I think this person needs a little more preparation first.
So the thing is, like, a lot of people have this question where, not a lot of people, but sometimes I even had this fear. So it sounds like this person has a little bit of a fear thing going on where they're afraid the toxin won't leave the body. And sometimes I personally had the fear, like, maybe I'm training this parasite to understand how to escape this whole fasting thing. Maybe I'm making it stronger, kind of like antibiotics make a bacterial stronger, like you're kind of making a super bacteria. But fasting is not like that. Fasting is so powerful and strong that there's nothing that can really outdo your body. Your body is so strong. Like, it's just the autophagy factor is just going to wipe everything away. The toxicity is going to get eradicated and dissolved and leave the body, because you have to engage autophagy for a long enough time for it to finish that, complete the download, because you can get to 99%, maybe even like just almost there, but that 1% needs to happen. Otherwise that parasite will start proliferating and start duplicating again. And then what ends up happening a lot of time, this is why people can hate fasting, because they usually never go long enough, and then it exposes the disease that they have or the sickness that they have, and then it starts repopulating the body and it feels like hell again, because now they're rashing out again, or they're kind of having inflamed gums, or their nervous system is hijacked by this shingles virus or something, because it's kind of reintroduced. Like, you almost finished deleting that from the body, but now it has to repopulate and kind of do what it did when it first got in the body. Maybe it was a generational thing that you never experienced. But the thing is, doing these, that's why these long fasts are important, because you got to finish the download and then now you don't have to experience that repopulation of that virus, which is not a fun feeling at all. I experienced that many times, and that only encouraged me to go into deeper fasts, because I was like, get this out of my body. I don't want this. This is not a fun life experience with this in my body. I'd rather have access to everything and not have my cells kind of be like working all the time trying to eradicate things. They want a day off,
This has reminded me the first time I knew you. You remember our conversation? We were talking about, we had not known at one time we are going to have such like forums. We were just having some private messages. Yeah. And you told me, I want to tell you the truth today. There's something called divine connection. This is something that happens without you planning. There was something about you and me, because even now, as we are doing this interview, I feel very comfortable with you. I'm just flowing. I don't have some worries. I don't know, should I ask this? I'm just, what comes, we go with it, because it's like a brother talk. Mm-hmm. Now, you told me you are having parasites in your brain or somewhere. Yeah. And then I lost the, I don't know your name, or because it was just a random message. So I lost your, I couldn't get the conversation. So I was worried about this, my friend who had the parasites, and this person, is he alive or dead? Because he told me he's going to fast very long. Now I don't even remember how long we were to fast, but you had told me that you're going to do some long fast. You were talking about a protocol of, is it 12 days and resting or something like that? So I felt for you, and I started to pray, actually. I was like, oh God, make sure that this guy doesn't die.
Trust me, you're joining the crew. A lot of people have prayed for me not to die, and I wish that I like to be in secret. I don't want to make people panic at all, but it comes with it. Even this fast, people were like, "Is he dead?"
I'm
still living.
At this time, I know you, because now you know what you're doing. You prepare very well. By that time, I didn't know, because it was long ago, just 1 year, 2 years ago, I think, something about that time.
Yeah.
So I didn't know you totally. I didn't know how you have been doing. I didn't know how you have prepared. But now I'm really comfortable with what you're doing, because for me, I feel if somebody can, whatever is in the scripture, no matter the medical, I know Dr. Philip tells us this and this, I know, I host Dr. Philip most of the time here, but what is in the scripture cannot be contradicted. The only thing is we only need the wisdom on how to do it. Paul did that 14-day dry fast with the people who had not even prepared in the sea when they had a shipwreck. We have 40-day fast twice with Moses. We have Elijah fasting 40 days, walking. He was walking fasting for 40 days when he was going to Mount Horeb. And then we have Christ. We have Christ, and this one we have discussed several times. Jesus Christ did a fast, which most of the time people are teaching outside that it was a water fast, because they say, okay, he did not feel. They say the scripture say he was hungered. He got hungry, but not thirsty. No. The Jewish tradition, we have studied for some time, we know the tradition of the Jew, they do the fast dry. So I don't think he would have gone against his own, the traditions within the Jew, even to date. They do Yom Kippur, it's always a full dry fast. And that's what Trevor has been doing now. For now, this is the third time. He has done a half of what Christ did the other time. That's a lot of honor for you, a lot of respect for you. I've been trying to reach there. I'm not yet. I think it's also because of the ideas that we accept. Because sometimes what I call my truth, what I see as the truth, it has been fed over time. So I feel, okay, not past what Dr. Philip has recommended. If I have to do it, maybe I do it in segments, in those fractional, that will be safe. But for me, I'm still feeling, this is my feeling. If it is in the scripture, it is authentic.
That's the thing, is that like, there's a bunch of people that, won't. I guess my example today was like, I see people who kind of understand health and they won't wear sunblock in any capacity because they're not necessarily healthy, but they're kind of close to it, but they'll still get sunspots. But the thing is, people who are absolved from that are very, very, very clean people that are kind of in fast. Like my skin won't get burnt after day 5 or day 6 of a dry fast. So why do I say that? I think it's because you can read scripture and think that you can do a 20-day fast, but we're not living in those times. That person is very toxic. They think they can just do a Jesus thing and dry fast for 40 days. You can't. You'll end up killing yourself because of toxicity that you have in the body already. It's going to cause beaver dams in your cardiovascular system, and then inhibit blood flow to your heart, and then cause death. So like, you have to be a clean vessel in order to go deeper. And that's the whole journey. That's by design. It's unraveling the onion of toxicity in your body so that you can go deeper and deeper. Do a 24-hour dry fast, then do a 3-day, then do a 5-day. You're learning how to go a little deeper and get deeper cleansing. And like I said before, it's the long fasts that achieve these full disease healing, tumor dissolving effects. It's not it's not like doing like, hey, I'm gonna do a 5-day dry fast, and then 2 months I'll do another 5-day dry fast, and then eventually I'll get the results. And like, no, you're not going to get results like that. That's just good, normal thing to do, but you're not going to cure any hardcore thing doing that. So it's kind of like, you have to be careful. Like, if people are questioning Jesus dry fasting for 40 days, and I don't know if I can't say 100% certain that he did, because I wasn't there. I can't see it. And a lot of people question if I'm authentic as well. Someone even told me that Dr. Villanov was like saying like how I faked my dry fast. And I don't really care that he said that, but it's just interesting. Like, there can be doubters on you doing your dry fast, and I don't care. Like, I'm just trying to put the information out there for other people to do it. I have nothing to prove. I'm just being an example. I'm that astronaut that went to outer space and said that safe here, you can come and actually do this as well. 20 days is achievable. It's still blowing people's minds that you can do that. So it's just kind of being an example. Like, if I can do it, you can do it too. And this is as far as I've gone. I've gone to 20 days. I've figured out the recipe for 20 days. I haven't figured out going beyond that yet, but I think I can achieve 25 days. And that's my next goal. Sadly, I didn't achieve it this time, but it is what it is. It's my journey.
Great. I think we need not to mix up these things, because some of our fastings, most of people come to fast because of medical issues.
Yeah, for sure.
And you realize that, like for me, I'm leaning so much on the spiritual aspects of the fast. The only thing that makes me listen to the medicine or the medical way, it is because of safety. That's the reason why I have to listen the other side. Okay, how do we do this? How do we break it? How do we prepare for it? Because of what we have seen or heard, you check, you realize that some people have ended their life with what I can call, I don't want to use the harsh word, but let me just use it, foolishness. Because some people go 40 days, no pre-preparation, and then when they break it, they also break it the wrong way. They use the heavy foods, and then that is it. That's it. It's operation. Somebody's rushed to the operation room, and then it's gone. It's gone. We have cases of, like in Africa, here we come. Most of our belief system in Africa is like most of our problems are spiritual. So you find people doing a lot of fastings. We do a lot of fastings here. And we have dry fast, which is not really popular, but there's that water fast and some juicing. But then somebody just get into the fasting without any preparation, and they have had bad results, actually fatal. I have about 3 cases that I know. One was a pastor, came and told us, I'm going to do a 40-day fast. And can you bring a prayer, what do you call it? Prayer requests. I'm going to be fasting and be in the presence of God. This guy, I think he must have interrupted the fast at the 28th mark and ate beef. This thing, I don't know what happened.
Oh my gosh, it must have been caused internal bleeding.
Yeah. Got stuck. Rushed to India for operation, died.
Yeah.
This is the one. This is a person I know. This is one I know who the guy I'm talking about one-on-one. The other one is not from here. It's from another nation in the southern part of Africa. This guy just went into the bush, and they wanted to do a Jesus fast, 40-day fast. No water, no nothing. Just a dry fast.
That's foolishness for sure.
The scripture, But this guy, he finished. He did get to the end of the fast.
What?
But he did 40 days, but he didn't recover. The problem is when he came out from the fasting, I don't know. He started to, the mother started to give him, it was a guy, started to give him porridge. I don't know if you know porridge. Yeah.
I do.
And I don't know what, I don't know whether it was the preparation. I can't tell exactly the cause of his death, but he died.
Yeah, the mind does a funny thing where you think that you were never fasting. You feel like you're back to normal life and you can do whatever, because outside of the fasting, you've lived your normal life and you think, oh, of course I can eat beef. Of course I can have grains and all these different foods. But you can't. You're in such a sensitive state right there, because if your body was fasting for that long, your colon has shrunk. All these things have shrunk in search of nutrition, in search of hydration. So therefore, forcing these dense foods through it, you just pretty much are causing internal bleeding and damaging your body. And it's just like your body definitely doesn't know how to process that at that time. That's why you transitioning to water, and then maybe cabbage smoothie, things that aren't salty, things that aren't sugary, and then eventually adding in more like juices. I think that's my choice.
Yeah, and you see, as we are talking about this, it's always two way, yeah. The positive and the negative. We warn people, and again we give them hope. Satmaga has come here. You are here. You have done a 20-day fast. Satmaga has done a 50 or 40-day fast. And though I will ask him this, because when he comes back, I need to ask him why he has not repeated the 40-day or the 50. Because this year he started.
It's hard.
Yeah, he said he was doing 10 and resting, something like that, a day with the hydration, and then he comes back again 10 for about, was it 9 or how many days? I don't know. I don't remember. But he did at times. I think he did about 6 of them or 9. So the point is that if you train yourself for a long time, the body will reset, the body will know how to do, and it's very intelligent and adjust, and will be able to do this fast without a problem. And I think we also had a guy yesterday, this is about 2 days ago, Eli Tom, I don't know if you know him. He was talking about this guy who are doing the pranic living or the breatharian movement. He was talking about putting a body in a way that is the body is like what we set. You have to reset it. It has to reset itself. It has to have a pattern kind of way of doing things. Anyway, let us focus on our talk today. We don't want to go to other things too much. So somebody asked, let me just read for you some things here.
Is it okay if I run to the bathroom real quick? It'd be like 30 seconds. You can pause it.
No problem. No problem. As you that's okay. Okay. I'll be able to continue talking about what the body needs to reset. The body needs to be in a way that you don't shock it. If you shock the body just by doing something that is not used to, it will shut down, and especially hunger. Hunger brings the shutdown of vital organs in our body, and this is what will now make like people who are doing hunger strikes, they die, and also the mindset. So this is the point where we warn people, but again, we tell you the good news that it is something that you can train yourself like a marathoner. You go slow and you increase, slow and you increase. And the other thing is also to avoid over fasting. You need some rest. You need sometimes some rest. You don't need to be doing fasting forever. You just need sometimes to be doing a rest. That's right. Okay. So I see some comments here. Kalale is still with us. On the 6th day of a dry fast, I woke up from a dream before I ate that greasy cheeseburger. Oh, that's what when we were talking about dreams that now makes you break your fast. Then there's a person who's talking about parasites. Parasites are in 99% people's brains and guts. So they are essentially running the world right now. And it seems that the physical ones have astral counterparts as well. Just a comment. That's not a question.
That was a profound comment right there. That was, yeah, that could be essentially. I think it's kind of getting a lot worse in the past 10 years, and I think it's going to get worse. Because all these, obviously, these manufactured viruses are now kind of like inhibiting people's processing of brain power. They're kind of like, for instance, a lot of people have that virus that was last year, COVID, and a lot of people are kind of like really what I consider soft brain. That's what they kind of call it, where they're just like a little more tired. They can't smell or taste anymore, and it's really altering how they think. And so if it's altering how you think, then you're kind of more controllable of a person. It's just more, you kind of become more of a puppet, and I think that's the intention of it. And so I don't want to be a puppet. I'd rather detach myself from these parasites and essentially not be controlled. So yeah, it's kind of sad because I think it is all for money, and a lot of people don't live beyond 80 years, so they're doing it for like 30 or 40 years of luxury and pleasure, and at the expense of the entire planet's health. It's kind of sad.
Yeah. Now I'm just read for you some nice comments here. These are for the last meeting we were. This is an amazing conversation. I'm currently fasting this week. I definitely needed to hear the gem regarding manifestation during a fast. And I think there's something you started to talk about. You feel as if you have 12 angels, guardian angels around you. These people still want to hear such like things. Yeah, people want to hear. How do you tell? Because like for today, when we were starting the meeting, I felt that presence of Holy Spirit. I'm like, this is some good conversation we're going to have today. So
I think the Holy Spirit very much wants this conversation, for sure.
Yeah. I don't always detect when I am having a guest. I can detect this guy is telling the truth. This guy is up and down. I can be able to tell. And sometimes somebody might look very genuine, but what is giving us as information has some breakdowns. I'm also able to detect that when we're having conversation. But for you, Trevor, You're a genuine boy, you're a genuine guy, you're a genuine.
Yeah, I think you are as well. We always flow. I think a lot of it
Yeah.
has to do with respect and listening to the person. I love hearing you talk and listening to you, and it's always a good conversation.
Mm.
Yeah.
And we have this challenge. We want this one to be clear. We have a group called autonomous living. This is the people who are like living without eating, without drinking. Sometimes they don't sleep.
Yeah.
So one of the biggest challenge I'm still trying to find out. I have hosted so many of them here, Trevor, but it's not that I don't believe in it, but I still feel something is not in order somewhere. We'll still find out. We'll find out one time. We're going to find out.
I mean, I do have
Yeah.
a thought on that. It's kind of like it's one of the same of the urine therapy thing. The urine therapy is beneficial for people that are very healthy, not beneficial for people that are unhealthy. There's something to it. There's uric acid, there's stem cells in urine. There's great components to it, but it's also, it can be bad as well. There's toxicity in it as well. Same thing with the sleep thing. It's like it's both answers. It's yes and it's no. Just like the urine thing. So with the sleep thing, people choose to not sleep while they're in a toxic body. You should be doing this naturally. You should listen to the body. So I only need an hour of sleep when I'm on day 12 of a dry fast because my body doesn't need it anymore. I'm not going to force it to do that when I'm in a toxic body and my body's processing foods. Why would I do that? So it's kind of like you're forcing truth in an area that it doesn't belong yet. The puzzle piece doesn't fit there. The puzzle piece fits on day 12 of autonomous living, for me personally. And it's literally it's figuring out, did you figure out this physical vessel enough and you detox it enough to actually achieve sleepless states? And then you're going to kind of get into these points of just psychedelic experiences, because you're obviously hallucinating, and hallucinations could have some truth and revelations to it and can make some people crazy, can make people genius. It's both.
So this is something that should not be forced, because it comes actually naturally when you are on a dry fast. Naturally, we talk about a problem of insomnia where people don't find sleep. But when somebody now tells you, if you sleep, it's like that's wrong. That's no. I think it should just the way you have said, naturally with a clean body, it's very possible.
Yeah.
Thank
When
you
does
for
the body have the most? The body has the most healing when you're in a sleep state. Like when you're resting and your eyes are closed and you're sleeping, that's when you get the most exponential healing. Anyway, we'll leave it at that.
Yeah, and even resetting, doing other. Yeah. So somebody said here, I am fasting, doing the MC. What's this? I don't do the salt water flash, nor the smooth move tea, smoothie or smooth tea. This whole month with 2 days soft dry fast a week. On the end of the month, I'll be doing my first 5 days soft dry fast. Rehydrating after with fruit juices and continuing on a fruit. Any recommendation regarding my plan?
Oh, okay. So they're doing a soft dry fast for 5 days and continuing on with juices.
Yeah, that's what you say. She said.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great plan. I think that getting into the dry fast with juices is a great plan. I think that this is something that you can definitely do once or twice a year. Getting to 3 days in a dry fast is an achievement. Anybody that does more than 3 days of a dry fast is a mentally strong person, in my opinion. So you want to make sure you're starting at a surplus of hydration. Fruitarians are way more hydrated beings than other people. So you want to kind of have more raw food intake, and it's living foods. You're not cooking out the hydration because your body has to supplement that hydration for the dehydration that you're having. So kind of transition to raw foods a little bit more so, and then a lot of juices before the fast, and then engage in the dry fast. And day 5 is kind of the cusp of whether you're going to experience nausea from not cleaning out your colon well enough, because day 5 you can kind of feel a little nauseous if there's still food that's left over in there. So definitely prioritize colon cleansing, like I always say over and over again. And then with your juices, I wouldn't transition on to high glycemic juices right after the dry fast. I would always kind of ease into more low glycemic juices and then go into the tasty sugary juices, whatever you want, like mango, papaya, pineapple, and more sugary juices if you choose to do that. But initially, you want to get onto like cucumber juice, things that are not too sugary, because you become increasingly insulin sensitive on a dry fast because your body's really looking for that energy. So once you finally give it, those sugars, it kind of comes out. The insulin gets spiked at such a level where you can cause issues with your insulin response by breaking on too sugary juices and too sugary foods. But this really only usually happens after day 12 of a dry fast, but it's a good thing to practice, in my opinion. It's just something
Great.
to know, and it's something I figured out.
Yeah, and this is Karale again. Toxic bodies do need more sleep. That's true. They seem to need their coffee to function. That's just a comment on what you have just said about the sleeping and fasting and the autonomy lifestyle. Then there's this last one: how to deal with the nasty gunk that builds up in the mouth, which is what always leads to my quitting or my ending of the fast. How do you deal with that?
You're in good company. Everybody experiences that. Sat Marga has that. That's usually why he broke his fasts. He said that he would break his fast because there's too much gunk build up in his mouth. And the gunk is a good thing to experience because your body's using the mouth as a detox pathway, and all that lymphatic stagnation is exiting through the mouth. So I don't really have any gunk that it builds up anymore at all because I've kind of gotten through it all. So I usually just man up and I just kind of get through it, and I'll kind of use my fingers and kind of get it off. Or maybe you can use a dry toothbrush to get it off. Sat Marga actually will use water on a toothbrush and get it off. But I use a tongue scraper. So a lot of times the gunk builds up on my tongue, and I'll scrape it off my tongue, and I'll do that 3 times a day. But it depends. I'm not sure how far along this person is. Sometimes I would have gunk build up beginning at day 7, day 8, but it depends on how long they're trying to go. But those are kind of like my recommendations for that, because you got to be careful when you're trying to get the gunk out, because you can get carried away. You'll use something that has calories like a lemon or something like that, and you can break the fast. Or use water and you taste it, maybe you drink a little bit and you broke the fast, and it's just like your body can create. It's not that bad of a thing, but if your colon needs healing and your gums need healing, then you shouldn't give them water contact, in my opinion. It's a difficult thing to describe, but I think tongue scraping is my best way to just get the gunk out, and use my fingers to kind of like, because you're chilling all day long. You have all the time in the world to get that off in your teeth, so you have time to do it without kind of using water.
Yeah, I think you're answering this question because he's also asking another one. There's a Shia Mashal. Let's Shia Mashal. I don't know. If you don't swallow water, how do you, okay to brush teeth? Is it okay to brush your teeth if you're not swallowing water?
Yeah, I think that if that person doesn't have any gum issues, or they don't have any dental issues, which a lot of time the physical ailments in the body are represented in the mouth, like your teeth and your gums will show how far along in the progress you are, especially your tongue. Your tongue will get more pink as you get closer to healing yourself completely. So Sat Marga does it. Sat Marga uses water in a toothbrush, and he didn't swallow, I don't think. So like I think it's a good thing to just kind of feel it out. If you don't have any disease of the mouth or whatever, then I think it's probably okay to do. I don't have any gunk build up in my mouth, so I don't do it. I kind of view brushing your teeth kind of oddly now, because you do it based on the food intake you have. So like you have more buildup in your mouth if you eat unhealthy foods, processed foods and stuff like that. And then so your gums are part of your lymphatic system. So this has actually been studied medically as well. Whatever you put in your gut ends up finding its way to your gums and can create cavities based on the acidity that's formulating in your teeth now, because the acidity is going into your lymphatic system, to your gums and in your teeth. So that's why I kind of like brushing with high quality baking soda every now and then, because it alkalizes my gums so that there's no acidity there that can possibly cause cavities. And it's not I kind of powderize it too, so it's not too abrasive. It's very soft.
Good. Now, I'm coming to a conclusion. I think I've asked one more last question for you, Trevor. Then,
Nice.
yeah, then I just call it a day. I know there are some people who want to maybe ask you a question directly. Yeah, they'll just unmute, and then we can also see you people. It's good when we see you as you ask, we see your mouth. So before I ask mine, or I do make my conclusion, I want to tell you people about what I've seen. I will tell you I have that gift of, I can call it foretelling. You can tell the future sometimes. There's something I've already seen about next year, about our fasting journey. So our fasting journey next year, I have something I'm going to tell you not now. So if you want to ask a question, you people can ask. You can unmute yourself and ask a question, because I think most of the questions have been answered. But there's one here. I see one in YouTube. And Trevor, you have so many guests. I can tell you, you are wondering, the first interview, when did you do it? Did you do it at the beginning of this year? Or towards the end of the last year?
Yeah, I thought about it. Somebody called me out. They're like, you do a lot of long dry fasts. I'm like, you've done like several this year. I'm like, have I done? I actually did 3 20-day dry fasts this year. So it was January, April, and then November.
Yeah. So today I think the highest number of guests, even YouTube. So many people are watching this live, and we have conversations going over, meaning you have a lot of followers now. You don't worry about followers any longer.
Yeah,
you do the right thing.
Crazy.
You do the right thing, people come. And that's what I'm seeing. Let me just say it. I'm seeing it coming in 2022. There's going to be a lot of consultation. Even those people who have never known about dry fast. It's going to be like, how do I say it? It's going to be like, for us now, it's not news. But to the people who have not known it, it's going to be news to them. So this is going to reach these people who have not known this, and people are going to be flogging, and there's going to be a lot of inquiries. So be prepared. And this is coming towards, especially the end of next year. The beginning of next year, there will be that kind of, how do you call this? Restoration, this kind of putting our house in order, putting things in order. But towards the end, there's going to be, can I call it a barrage of, you are going to have, I don't know how many people are going to be, anyone who is into fasting, know this. I have to tell you as early as now. There's going to be a lot of inquiries. This is something that's going to be like popular. It's going to be popular with people. So people are going to come. Yeah. So be prepared. Be prepared. Everybody be prepared. Like, if you've been following us for some time, be prepared for this.
I like the aspect of it because it requires nothing. Dry fasting requires you to do nothing, you know? So therefore, why would I ever charge anybody for this information? My information is out there. My testimony and my vulnerability in this aspect is out there. So therefore, this is not something that needs to be monetized at all. You know, it's in the palm of your own hands. You can do this on your own. And I think that this resonates with people so much because they're feeling, of course, this works. I never heard of this. This is a hardcore path, and what it's the ultimate trusting of the body, you know. So therefore, let's see what the body can do, you know. And they're seeing me as a guinea pig. Well, what's happening with this white boy? Is he actually able? Is he dying after 20 days, or is he able to live? And the thing is, I'm living, I'm surviving at 20 days. And what happens with him? Did he cure his disease? Is he curing his sicknesses? Oh, he did. Oh my gosh, there is something to this, you know? And so they see me as kind of like an example, and like this, there's something to this. I feel the truth of this whole fasting thing. And this is old news. You know, this has been around since the beginning of time, but I think it is a conduit in the evolution of our species on this planet and caring for the planet more so. So it's kind of like, I think that's the next level. I think a lot of us are caring more for the planet these days. And I think it starts with ourselves, caring for ourselves and our health. And therefore we care for the planet because we realize how much that planet gives back to us. And that was the one component that was missing from my last fast. It was that I was in a hotel room overlooking the beach, and that I couldn't plug into the earth. I wasn't connected to Mother Earth at all. And I missed that aspect to it. I wasn't like putting my feet or fingers into the earth to connect with Mother Earth. And so I didn't have that, like, that nurturing in that aspect. And I think that's what I'm going to make sure I have next fast.
Wow, thank you. I know there's so many things. There's somebody saying here, why does kidney hurt during the fast? It's just a question.
Yeah, I think that you're processing so much toxicity, and your kidneys are filtering your blood, and sometimes you can have kidney stones or a thing that's calcification in your kidneys. So there's certain blockages that's happening. So it's just kind of like you should break it. My kidneys don't hurt at all on my 20-day dry fast, but they did hurt in my initial fasts. And I ended up peeing out kidney sediment when I was finished with those fasts. What it required for me was a 5-day dry fast, breaking on high quality aluminum free baking soda in water. I'd have a couple of cups of that. You'll start dissolving these kidney stones that way. There's no greater way to dissolve kidney stones than dry fasting, in my opinion. So definitely break when your kidneys feel sensitivity, and you'll see that they feel better and better as you go deeper into this dry fasting pursuit.
I've got a new friend here who was in Montenegro with Dr. Filelov. You're going to meet him today. Trevor, it's called Sam. Sam, your hand is up, please. Unmute. We want to see your face. Trevor needs to know you. Yeah.
Guys,
What's up, Sam?
Namaste, namaste. One sec. Good to see you, Trevor.
You guys
Good
are
to
boys?
see you.
Good to meet you too.
Thank you for sharing everything yet again. Congratulations. Number 3 now. Very exciting. Very awesome. I was just curious. It's really fascinating to hear you talk about the shifts that you've had, from your initial journey being more focused physically, and then the spiritual coming in, and these extrasensory and whatnot. And I know from hearing you, this is you're very passionate about it for multiple reasons. So I'm curious, as you're going for these longer dry fasts, you said next year probably you'll go again. Like, I guess, what is the deeper driver? And with that, are you thinking about, previously you went down to Guatemala and you separated a bit, but are you thinking about going even more deep as far as just separating for maybe some months and just being in a locale or a country in an environment with a group of people or alone that is just more focused, not just on dry fasting, but on the whole spiritual experience around getting to this place to where you can go so deep?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And I think that there's a reason why, scripturally people would pursue these longer fasts. And I think it comes down to, it's like in this modern day, people are really into like psychedelic experiences, right? And they're kind of getting a lot from that. They're getting like shadow work done. They're kind of finding themselves a little more so. With these fasts, I'm entering these spiritual states, and I'm finding myself with every single hour that passes. I'm figuring out more about myself every single day that passes on the dry fast. So I'm staying in these states for longer periods of time and kind of knowing thyself more so, because if you look at your body's your temple, right? So I'm kind of cleansing my temple and understanding exactly why certain things are like I'm hung up on, maybe egotistically, or I'm identifying with certain things, and then I'm finding closure on those when I actually transition back to my normal life. So that's why I like staying in these states a little longer, and that's why I pursue longer fasts safely. So yeah, I prefer Guatemala because I had such a powerful experience there, and I hope that you get to experience that in some paradise location. Is there any location or place that you'd want to do a fast?
I in my limited experience, I certainly found so much benefit being in India and being in a culture that just has a spiritual container that's been built for thousands of years. And so even if right now the majority of people aren't really that aware of it, there's still just all of these little things sprinkled throughout just daily life, and subsequently the energy, that is moving in that direction compared to other places. So for me, I'm currently most interested in being in places that have the ancient tradition of these specific practices, but also the tradition of just supporting people in their journey to go deeper in this sort of thing. So it's there, you know, none of my energy is being exerted to explain to people or to feel insecure about or to be hiding or whatever like that. It's all like totally supportive for me.
I think it's a great idea, because a lot of times I'm running away from family and friends that are trying to stop me from fasting. And I
Right.
think putting yourself in an environment like India is perfect. Aesthetics in India would hang around each other, you know? It's like,
Right,
oh,
right.
you're starving too? Okay, we're cool.
I know, it's so normal.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. How did
exactly.
you find dry fasting, and how have you found this like whole journey? Like what's your story?
I well, you and I, we've chatted a little bit on Facebook
Yeah,
Messenger.
that's what I thought. Okay, I thought I recognized you.
Yeah, brother. All good.
Wow.
So it's just similar to you, you know, initially it was more like curiosity and life hacking and like more of this kind of just want to do something that other people can't do or whatnot. But then as I go deeper in here, then this changes much more. And so
Mhm.
now it's not, now I'm doing things because I feel it in here versus feeling it up here of like this is a good idea or whatnot.
Yeah.
And now the results out here are so strong that it doesn't really make logical or intuitional sense to like go another way.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so true. Um, a lot of times I like to catch myself, and fasting has taught me one thing, and it's really to identify where ego was having it rearing its head in my life all day long, you know. And now I can see it in other people, and I can see it in myself. And a lot of times I'll just chill and like just let it pass and let it transpire. And everybody's on their own journey, you know.
Right.
And I think that with this fasting thing, I feel like you and I resonate with this. Once you get the rabbit by the foot, which is the dry fasting, I want to see where this goes. You know, I want to go down that rabbit hole and see how much I can get from this, because I'm experiencing this evolution, right?
Right.
So I love it. You know, I need nothing and want nothing, because I feel like the happiest people in life are the musicians that just need their guitar, or the surfer that just needs their surfboard. You know, I got my fasting. I just need my body and mind. I'm entertained. I'm good to go, right?
Yeah. Nice. Sweet. Sweet, brother. Well, thank you very much for continuing to share. It's certainly, it's an inspiration, of course, and it's, you know, very educational, and it's many things, but it's a great example.
Likewise, man. I wish that you were in Charleston. I feel like we would hang out. It's kind of a like-minded friendship for sure.
Yeah, well, I mean, these days, like, who knows where? So I remain open. So I know you're in Charleston, so we shall see.
Much love,
Sweet.
brother. Nice to finally meet you.
Yeah, you as well. Namaste.
Thank you. Trevor, this is what I wanted to ask you. I don't know if somebody else wants to ask a question, but it's ringing in my mind. Like when now you are looking at your body, you are in day 15, day 16, and you're seeing yourself growing thin, you're just looking at yourself bones. How does it relate to your mind at that time? How do you now, like, see, do you sympathize with yourself? Do you say, okay, I'm doing it? Well, at that point, what is your thoughts? What are running in your thoughts as you look at your body going down, going down?
Yeah, that it only works against you. Do not look at a mirror at all. You can't really, no one brings a mirror to nature. You know, you can look in the reflection of a water, but like if you see that, it's kind of jarring sometimes, and you're like, oh, this is really skinny. Thank God no one can see me. You know, it's scary skinny, you know. Like I'm going down to 121 a lot of times. You know, 121 pounds is very, I'm not sure if you know that amount of weight, but I'm usually 175 pounds. So it's very, very skinny. So yeah, I have to just kind of like not absorb that like fear, because you can be introduced with fear. Is this too skinny? Like, am I going to run into complications? But in fact, the matter is that these aesthetics in India, they got skinnier than I go, you know, and I'm trying to do this safely. I'm not trying to dip into like danger territory and kind of like organ failure, because there's a prioritization of these dry fasts, because your body is going to survival mode. So your body's going to go through the fat storage first, and then possibly muscle tissue, and then go through like dead and diseased cells. And then after that, it starts to kind of like take hydration from organs, more so because it took it from your skin. Your skin cleanses off very drastically. So you kind of want to not enter into these dangerous territories. For me, I think it would exist beyond 25 days. So I never thought I'd go beyond 12 days, but I've done it many times now.
You said 120, 121 is a little equivalent to kg 54, I think something like that. 54 kg.
I think numbers actually make a big difference. Division of sevens make a big difference. The first 7 days you overcome the mental healing. The next 7 days you can overcome a lot of physical healing. But when you get to 21 days, quite like it's known in scripture, that's like a really big number. You can get a complete inoculation of diseases and sicknesses at 21 days. And that's kind of a big number. And that's why I wanted to get there, just to kind of experience what it was like mentally, spiritually, physically.
Yeah, and there's something I wanted to say. In a year, for me, if I'm to count now, you have done 60-day fast, dry fast, with the breaks. That's how we should call it now. 60 days with some breaks, which in between the two, there are three. But let's say between the two, the first one and the second one, and then the second and the last one. Which one did you make a little longer break? There's the month, yeah.
So 60 days, and how long were my breaks between my long fasts?
What I mean, the first one, 20 days in January. Was it in January?
Yeah, it was a three and a half month break between those first two.
The first two, and then the last one, a little longer break, huh?
Maybe like 6.5 months.
6, yeah. So for you to make this decision, this one that you have taken a bit longer, the 6 months before you did it, were you struggling with, is it I'm going to do this thing again? Or what would have been the reason for the long break? Or is it a wise thing? You felt it's just a wise thing? Because I'm almost looking at next year. What are you planning with next year also? Those are the things that are in your mind, yeah.
Yeah, I'm planning on it. I think I'm gonna do like probably the end of next year. I like colder environments. It depends on when my body feels like it. People ask the opposite. They're like, you shouldn't be fasting this much. And I think that there's something to that. I like to kind of be in a healthy body that's built, and I can run marathons and lift weights and run and have fun physically. But you can't really do that if you're kind of breaking down the body completely in a dry fasted state. You're dehydrating the body and you're cleaning the body out a lot, so building it back up is a really fun thing for me, honestly. So I don't really care about losing muscle because I really enjoy building it back up and seeing like how I can do it again. But yeah, I've also done numerous 15-day dry fasts with only 3-day in between. I think people have heard that on previous interviews where I've done a 15-day dry fast, 3-day break, 15-day dry fast, 3-day break, and did 4 of those. So the body's capable of doing a lot of different things, but I think that hydrating before the fast is a very, very good thing to do. And also not doing what you've heard in your country, which is people doing these long fasts without preparation and being foolish about it. But luckily the information's out there now for people to be smarter.
Great, thank you. And in between, let's say April and November, you had some fasts, some little fast here and there. I think, reaching maximum 3 days, 5 days.
Yeah, so I would do monthly group dry fasts on my Instagram profile, Fasting with Trevor, and so people would join and love it, and they'd go off and do maybe even a 9 or 11-day dry fast on their own. I safely will coach people publicly for 3 days, and I don't have responsibility for people after that. But yeah, so I'll do 1 3-day dry fast a month. Sometimes I'll do a 7-day dry fast once every 3 months probably. And then I'll do a really long dry fast because I think that's where the real benefits are. Like once a year. I did 3 this year, like a crazy person. But I'll do a long dry fast next year, just 1, I think.
1, yeah, good.
But there is a concept that I think that was uncovered, and I intend to kind of connect with Dr. Filanov because I think that he's heard a lot about me, and I kind of want to put our heads together on things that I think we both can kind of fine tune. And one of those being this whole acidosis thing. and experiencing levels of acidosis, you know. So I don't experience acidosis because I'm living clean in my life, you know. So I'm able to achieve healthier states, and autophagy is clearer. It's a clear pathway in my body. So I'm not inundated by my own body's acids because I'm not storing that to begin with, you know. And I think that needs to be kind of reassessed for him. And I intend on talking about that with him.
Yeah, but just my comments about it. I think this is what I'm thinking. This is for the sick. When they're talking about the second acidosis crisis, it's like a person. This is for specifically the people who have sickness in their body, because you're going. I've followed him for some time. You realize that the people have done so much fast, maybe even 5 days. The first 5 days is going to be very thorough. It's going to be like the body is passing through some kind of transition that it has never felt, and the impact will be seen. But thereafter, if a person does the fast, another fast, let's just say 5 again, after a short time, maybe within a month, the person like, I don't feel anything. Even the feet, the fatness, the kind of thing that you always feel the fast acidosis is not there. Or if it passes in a way, this is the instruction that I think that Refeeding gives, in a way that you will not feel it. You not even know that it has passed. Because the body has now become a little cleaner. Now for you, you're very clean. First of all, what you eat. Then the second stage. And I think what you're saying, now it's what we must give him as a challenge. Now, for a person who is now very clean, and you do the fasting, you don't even feel the acidosis crisis, whatever, 1 or 2, you don't feel it. It's not there for you. It's not there. What is his advice for these people? Obviously, we know his advice. His advice is that don't fast. Just do little fast. Just do little fast of 3 days or 5 days. We know what he is advising. But that is from, I really respect Dr. Philov on the medical point of view. He gives very clear instructions because of his experience and expertise.
Yeah.
But as we are in between, we are people who want healing, and we are also spiritual. So that's why we are. I'm not just taking Dr. Philov's instructions or recommendations as final, because of the part of the spiritual. Yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes we need to do more fasts.
Yeah.
Maybe we do often fast. Exactly.
Well,
So I will still let him know about what you have asked to get his own point.
I want there to be like a positive, productive relationship between him and I think that'll definitely happen. But like I said, I just want to put our heads together on these things. But you're right. Sick people are have more acid buildup, so they're going to experience acidosis, levels of acidosis when they first do their long fasts. But the thing is, like, there's certain foods that actually are more acidic, and I find that he recommends those outside of fasting. So of course you're going to build back those acid stores again, and then you're going to experience acidosis again, even as a person that's not really sick. I mean, that's happened to me before as well. So that's why I wanted to delve into this topic in particular and the whole acidosis thing, because it is a real thing, and I think it's an interesting topic. But yeah. Are there any more questions at all, or am I able to break this fast during this interview? Oh, it's 2:22. That's a perfect time.
Okay, we finish up. We are finishing up, but let me just read for you. If there's a question, it's just a comment. No problem. This is a person saying, Trevor, as well as all others who are listening, highly recommend you the book from Peter Menscheson, End Times. Birth Pains of the Golden Age. I don't know about that. Maybe it's the first time I've had such like a book. I'm also going to put it down.
Let me write this down. It's what is it called?
It's a book written by Peter, Peter. Men Secheson. That's one name. It's a long name. I don't know. It's a book on End Times, Birth Pains of the Golden Age. That's the name.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know about it. Just then somebody was saying, let me just get these things in order so that we finish up. How long? Just a minute. Just 1 minute. I'm using 2 devices, so sometimes I get a challenge here. But we are finishing. we are concluding. Now, how long it takes to overcome mental reality problems with dry fasting? Did it 7 days dry for 24 hours, then 2 days break, then 2 days break? Hey, there's some problem with that. I don't know.
How long does it overcome mental problems, mental obstacles?
Yeah, something like mental obstacles. Just 1 minute, I get the question.
Mental obstacles can be derived from bacterial influence as well. It can also be derived from trauma that because there's one component to fasting is time slows down. And why that's important is because you start to internalize certain issues that you haven't processed yet. And that might be very difficult for a lot of people. But it's time to face those and process that if you're ready to do so, and just kind of like delve into it and be still. And you have you're having a clear mind about it. So now you're able to really overcome this once and for all instead of just running and coping from that. So it's just up to you when you're ready to deal with these traumatic identities you might have for yourself. There's also mental obstacles with regards to fear and being able to physically go that far with dry fasting. And that just goes for me, like I know I've done 20 days. So if I feel very weird or like fearful on day 9, I just know that I've done 11 days more than that. So there's no reason to let fear into my mind at all. Fear is a big component to fasting, and just constantly overcoming it in different aspects. It's fun to me. Like, oh, here's fear again. I've gotten to myself in these predicaments where I go hiking on like day 14 and I got too far away from home. And now I have a fear aspect where like, I can't make it back home. Am I too far? Am I going to die here? But I realized I got to flip my perspective. This is a time of gratitude. Thank you for this opportunity for me to be out here fasting. And I'm going to enjoy my walk back, but I can also internalize it and be very fear struck and just expect to die and not move at all and call my mom and be like, help me, I've done it this time, call an ambulance, but I haven't done that. Sorry, I'm ranting right now, but so it's kind of like up to you. Whether you invite fear into your minds or not. It's definitely a component that restricts people from going deeper.
I want us to stop at this point. I know every now and then when you have a meeting, we always don't get everything done. I know there's so many questions. Yeah. I have about 4 or 5 things that are in the chat that I can't finish with. But let's just call it a day because most of the things also repeat themselves in what we have discussed already. So
is it in the chat?
No, this is YouTube. I can just read all of it. And there's one in the chat. The chat is one was a private message. This was on a person who was talking about. Do you remember the person who was asking about obesity? With asking for another person, and wanted to know how long should this person fast now?
For obesity?
The person was talking about for some who is obese and unhealthy. Do you remember that thing, that question? Yeah. So the person finished with how long should he dry fast? How long should this person dry fast? It came later.
Yeah, and that's when people kind of want to cure obesity and they see dry fasting. Sometimes they view dry fasting as a pill. Let me just take this pill and I'll lose all the weight and I'll be good. This is part of the beauty of life is that you have to figure out this physical journey. What's the best food intake for me? What's the best time for me to do intermittent fasting? So like you found this truth, but you're going hardcore with it. You're going all the way to dry fasting because you see an answer there. But in reality, a lot of times people will actually bounce back and put their weight back on because why? They didn't figure out that aspect of like how they should live their lifestyle. So I find that there should be activity every single day. You should go for a walk every single day. You should have low like processed carbs. Like fruits are good, but all the other carbs are going to be slow digested foods. You want foods that are like processed very fast, raw living foods. And you also want to do like one fast a week at least, maybe do a 48-hour dry fast each week and do the protocol that I told you, which is cleaning the colon, getting really hydrated beforehand. And I assure you, if you just live that lifestyle, then you're gonna chip away at this weight. And with the dry fasting, your skin shouldn't sag too much when you lose it. So just do this kind of lifestyle, and you'll end up losing the weight within like 8 months to a year, I would say. but make sure you stay active, and you're going to run into these things. That person's obese for a reason, that maybe they were coping with something like psychologically. So you have to resolve those issues as well and start loving yourself in these fasts, because it's all in the mind. My mind gets me to 20 days. My mind makes my physical body look the way it does now. My mind can also make my body look 250 pounds and jacked, like really muscular person. My mind can also make me look like a frail, skinny person. It's all about how you formulate your perspective. So that's like my protocol for like obese people, and they seem to like it, which is nice and easy. Don't have to like take this and go 30 days, just take it easy and do like 24 hours to 48 hours each week, and understand this whole detoxification mechanism. Dry fasting is the most hardcore version of it. So
yeah, let's just finish all of it. I'm sorry for taking too much time. There's another person asking about regrowing of teeth. Do you think dry fast can help with that?
So that is a miracle, and I think I usually say the dry fasting can achieve all things. I've never seen someone's teeth regrow. I think that the liver has no problem doing that, regrowing. But the teeth, I think, is kind of a tall ask. You will kind of clean your gums, and you can make your mouth very healthy and clean through dry fasting. But the growing of teeth, I think, is a tall ask. Which I'm not sure if it's possible.
And
but
Trevor, with the issue of the gum, at a point, do you feel as if your body, the gum has reduced it itself, as if the body is consuming it?
No, I think that it's becoming the way it naturally should be. A lot of people have inflammation in their gums because where does bacteria and fungal infections occur? They occur in the gut, right? Because that's where the access point for food is. They can start eating quickly there. But where does the food first enter? It enters into the mouth. So the gums actually have first access to this food. So of course, parasites and microorganisms will start to harboring bacteria in the gums. So they become inflamed. Most people have inflamed gums. So when they shrink, it's just becoming normal. You're removing that inflammation. It's kind of like your lymph nodes. You know how your lymph nodes can be very concrete, they can get inflamed. Your gums are kind of a similar aspect, because your gums are part of your lymph, like I mentioned earlier. So the gums can get solid and lymphatic stagnation in your gums. That's why people get gunk on their teeth, because that is coming out of the gums. I had a gum infection. That's one of the reasons why I fasted. So I had it bad. I had my gums super inflamed.
And you got them well cured after the fast.
Yeah, and they were rock solid too. I was like, this is going to be hard, but it got done. I got it done.
Yeah, and the other thing is, when you break the fast, there's always some. Do you always feel this pain that is, I don't know, it's in the phalanx or somewhere? Part of. Do you always have that issue, or you do it smoothly in a way that it doesn't affect any? You don't feel that pain, because I always find that the first swallow, especially if it's done carelessly, for me, or sometimes we have done fasting for so long, we know, but sometimes you get you rush with the swallowing, and you find that you start to feel as if there's some pain up there towards the end of your your mouth there. I call it the phalanx or somewhere. There's some, I don't know.
It's funny you mentioned that. There's somebody who mentioned that for the first time to me yesterday. And how long is your longest fast, Frederick? Yeah. Like how long are you fasting for? 11 days?
Yeah.
You did 11-day dry fast?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. I would love to see that. I didn't see any pictures. Yeah. For me, I had pain in my that area when I had sometimes people can have thyroid issues. So like a lot of times the thyroid is a regulation of like, weight gain and weight loss, and so I have a theory about that, where a lot of times there's a harboring of kind of microbes that'll be there, and they'll kind of like pull the levers on weight gain and weight loss. And there's like some people can gain weight because of thyroid issues, so a lot of times I recommend iodine, because the iodine goes to the thyroid and cleans off these microorganisms that are messing with your thyroid. Because if I were them, I would try to make an obese host for me to feed on, a more preferable host, so I can feed on whatever I want and just kind of navigate the body and feed on it. So of course I want a fatter person. So when people break the fast and they experience pain in their thyroid, it's because they are they're literally catching themselves in the middle of a detox. It's kind of like they have a Herxheimer reaction upon breaking it, and now they're feeling that pain there. And I had the same thing. I had thyroid buildup as well, and it would be like solidness around my thyroid, but it's not there anymore because obviously I starved it out of my body. I kind of am a parasitologist, so I kind of think everything is just like a micro parasite type of thing. So I think it's not something you can avoid until you eradicate the infection completely. You're going to have pain there until it's all gone. I like to be blunt and be serious and be truthful. I don't know.
Right now, let me read these ones. If you would want to answer, let me just read them step by step. Trevor, do you integrate urine therapy daily for yourself?
Do I do urine therapy daily, you said?
I think urine therapy, this is, if you do it daily for yourself, I'm not sure where it's getting this from, about urine therapy. Urine, you call it shifambu or something, I don't know. You know something like that?
Yeah, I mean, I've only wrapped my head around it recently, and I think it makes a lot of sense. So I think the earth can actually, it can like reformulate the structure of a water. But there you can get water from Fiji, you can get water from Iceland, and the mountain will restructure the water, and it'll get minerals from the earth. You can restructure water through your body as well. That's why the physical vessel is actually a better way to structure water. So when people do go down these kind of paths, they can get all the minerals they need because their body's producing it and it's structured properly. But an unclean vessel is going to release toxicity, and therefore they're re-ingesting that toxicity. And I think it's not conducive to healing. And a lot of people will argue, well, you're training the body. That's new information. That's new information how to tackle the body more so. But I find that a lot of people are mucousy, and that mucus carries these microorganisms. So after their dry fast, they're re-ingesting these mucus microorganisms and then reinfecting themselves with these kind of things that they were trying to heal all along. So some people can get too obsessed with these ideas. So there's truth in the urine therapy, but I think it's the best. Let's put it this way: the best way for the highest quality urine is pretty much to do like day 3 to day 5 of a dry fast from a very clean person. Say Jesus Christ, his pee on day 3 to day 5 has a plethora of stem cells, uric acid, and it's clean, structured water that kind of turns from water into wine. It looks like a wine type color. So it would be beneficial to drink that type of pee that has minerals and those type of substances in there because it has no toxicity either. So drink of my blood and eat of my flesh, he would say. So I kind of am theorizing that maybe he was passing around his urine. And I know people don't want to consider these type of thoughts. It might seem crazy, but it's just food for thought. It's just a theory I have. But there is something to it. People do rave about this whole urine therapy thing. And I've seen people regrow their hair just by putting their urine and massaging it into their scalp, because what ends up happening is like you have blockages in your hair follicles and it's inhibiting hair growth, especially the circulation. So by rubbing this uric acid that is your pee into your scalp, you can regrow your hair, but you have to be consistent with it, morning, night, and do it for like 6 months, and you'll see the hair regrow, in my opinion. But your sweat is also the same as your pee too. So your body is already circulating urine across your entire body. The uric acid breaks down like hard proteins and makes it just less blockages, so to speak. So that's my thought on that. And I have partook in it a little bit, but it's not like I think, just like Sat Margo says, he thinks it's more of a toxic substance. And I think Ivana, I forget who you had on, they also thought it was a toxic substance, but it's not. You can't just call it, you can't just say it's completely toxic, which is not. There's benefits to it, and there's also disadvantages to it if it's from an unhealthy vessel.
Right. Allow me to just read these ones. We may not answer all of them. Trevor, why is your goal 27 days? Thank you. Trevor, do you consume nuts and seeds, coconut oil, raw food, and the fasting intermittent? Is it possible people's needs to use their mental power during the fast? Is it possible people need to use their mental power? I don't know. Then lastly, during a dry fast, my teeth got loosened and then tightened back. My teeth got loosened and then I think that's when we were talking about the gum issue.
Yeah.
All these are in YouTube. And at this time when you want to go away, that's when so many people are now watching you. I don't know if you will want to handle any of those things I've read, any of those questions, or we just conclude at that point. We leave it at this point.
Yeah. So I guess the question is like, why is his gums get soft, or are these just comments? I'm not sure. What is the question?
That was a comment, but there's a question about why you take the 27 days. Why is your goal 27 days? And also, why do you consume nuts and seeds or coconut oil?
So the first question is, why do my goal 7 days or my goal 27 days?
27. Yeah. Why 27?
Oh yeah, 27. That goal was kind of like a natural feeling of like how far my body would want to go. That's kind of like a limit for me. And I think that I don't think I'm ready for that limit. I don't think my body it loses too much weight too fast. But I kind of go into these fasts being very just overzealous, like most people do. I think that most people think they can do 11-day dry fast and they end up doing like 5, so I set these high goals and I don't really ever achieve them. But eventually it gets more and more. With nuts and seeds, I don't really ingest nuts and seeds too often. I know it's healthy fats, but I'll have it like maybe once every 2 weeks. I'll kind of have some nuts and seeds. I kind of look at it this way, is where you should be ingesting how much you'd physically be able to open on your own. How many walnuts can you actually open naturally? And that's how much your body should be intaking in that particular time. And plus, like, is your body craving those healthy fats? Do you want those nuts and seeds? I think literally, like, are these seeds able to get stuck in my colon more so? And I think that there's a chance that can happen. Chia seeds do get kind of stuck up in the intestines, and that cannot be so good for the body. So I want foods that are going to process well and not going to get stuck up. They're not going to get plaqued up on my colon. And those are the foods for me. High nutritional, hydrating foods that are going to give me energy. And sometimes I'll go back into a little bit of density, quinoa, avocado, and stuff like that to build the body more so. A surplus of bananas. So yeah, that's kind of my take on that. I have a lot of dates and coconut. That's like my thing. Combining those two things, it kind of tastes like caramel. If anybody hasn't tried that yet. But yeah, that's my answer to that.
Thank you, Trevor. It was a pleasure hosting you. Somebody has said, Jerome Shaw, I said, I love seeing your journey. Even me, I'm enjoying this. And Trevor, coming next year, those people cannot fast. We want to start to pray for them in our meetings. When you have a meeting like this, there are some people who are in a condition that they cannot, there's nothing they can do. They can't do a fast, they can't do it. It's like just a death sentence. You're just waiting for.
Yeah.
So for such like conditions, we pray and put them in the hands of God, because now you have power and authority. Actually, there's a Bible scripture, there's a verse in the Bible. This is in Matthew 17:21, about this kind does not come except by prayer and fasting. So there are sometimes we stand in for the others. When we fast and pray, we are doing it for the sake of these other people who at a point maybe they don't know about the fasting, or sometimes their condition has gone too much. It's beyond what you can help. Like now, Dr. Fino tell us about people in stage 4 of cancer. They can't tell them to fast. So such like people need prayer. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
So thank you everyone. Thank you so much. Everybody saying thank you. Asante. Somebody asante means thank you. I don't know who is this same Mao. I don't know if he knows Kiswahili. Anyway,
Yeah.
thank you because we have done 3 interviews. This, I will tell you the truth, is the best of all of them.
Oh,
Why do I say
nice.
so?
I
The
loved it
freedom,
too.
yeah, the freedom of how we are talking. This is the best. So thank you so
Yeah.
much, Trevor. Thank you.
Casual.
Yeah.
Hey, I think I speak on all of our behalfs that you're doing an excellent service to the world, and you're an angel for doing this all for free. And you can tell in your character as well that you're very genuine, and it's been an honor to be to build our friendship like we have. But yeah, thank you again for having me on here.
You're most welcome, sir. And bye bye. See you.